Alright, I'm going to try to make a video here showing how to put the 24mm Zeiss lens on the Z15 Zenmuse. As you can see, I've got the pancake 16mm lens here, and I try to go with the much better 24. So also, as you can see, it's probably kind of rare to have this on a 700 size helicopter, but that'll be another video. So let me put the camera down and get to it. Alright, so to get started, here's a 16mm pancake on the Nex 7. And I just took it off and just put it back on here just to kind of show, so it's not perfectly balanced right now. But you can see you can rotate it. It should stop in any position. It was a little off balance actually from the factory on its roll axis. So first things first, take the camera off. And there's actually several advantages I've seen so far to go to the 24. Obviously its sharpness is much better, but just by where the camera ends up being in the mount is kind of nice too, which I'll show you. Alright, so there we have it. We can take the lens ring off, which all you need for this is just a 2mm and a 1.5mm Allen heads, and then you also need a 2mm L Allen. So I was actually kind of surprised how, oops, forgot to put a lens ring on there. I was actually kind of surprised how big and heavy that lens was when it came in. Alright, set that 16 aside. And I'll take this back off because I forgot to put the ring on there. So just like the normal lens, a little dip in there. Let's see if I can show that. Kind of goes in that little white alignment dot. Drop the plastic little shim in there. Get it centered up. And then I'm going to push it as far forward as I can. Center the white dot. Make sure that shim's centered so I don't screw down on the lens. And just kind of snug those up a little bit for now. And put the lens on. Don't forget to take the cap off. The other nice thing about doing this is that you can, I added just a UV filter on it earlier, just for a little protection, which was kind of nice. So now I can just put the little L bracket here on. Try to anyway. And you're just going to have to kind of guess and just don't snug it up real tight, but then you can move it. So I just kind of put it about there for now. So now I can put it on the mount. Actually, before I can even do that, I need to move the lens, well, I guess the whole camera mount backwards. I'm just going to loosen it up. Take this. Probably end up taking the screws out, but this is where the trial and error starts. So since I already know kind of about where it is, you actually take the screws out of this, and you'll notice that there's two holes or more than 2 holes, 4 holes. And so you can kind of slide this bracket wherever you need it. I think I was somewhere up here, so put that one there. And we'll probably have to readjust a little bit. Alright, now it's almost easier to just put it on the side. And I'm probably way too far back. But grab the 1/4-20 thumb screw. And first thing you want to do is plug the HDMI. It's one of the other nice things about this, where it's mounted now, is you can actually get access to the USB and the HDMI connector. So you can unplug it before you take the camera out, or unplug it, plug the USB into it to download your pictures before you, so you don't have to take the whole camera out. But as you can see, you know, got pretty lucky, pretty close to begin with. Yeah, it's a little tail heavy, but it'll pretty much sit in a spot. But I'll throw it out of balance here just to show. What the thumb screw actually holds that plate in that we just loosened up and moved. So to show, I'll just loosen these 2 little screws up, and then it's still tight, so it's still just right where it was. So I can loosen that thumb screw up now and just adjust it, and I'll go a little nose heavy here. So you see, it just wants to fall forward. And the better you can get it, the better it should perform. So I haven't even tightened those screws up yet, but I'll move it back just a hair. See how it. So doesn't feel tail heavy. Doesn't feel too nose heavy. Just want to bump it. If it keeps going, obviously you're off. So now that thumb screw's tight. Now I'll tighten these 2 little 1.5mm screws down. So while you do this, just hold it in the roll axis. We want to do the tilt first. And that's all I had to adjust for the tilt. I guess I better remember to put this in there before I get too carried away and might throw it off a little bit. So just because I didn't quite get those right, it's going to be a little bit off. If I didn't tighten that too bad, down too far on the ring, so I can just rotate it around. And we'll check it again, see if it changed anything. No. Not bad. Alright, so there's the tilt. You can see how far that throws the roll out, even though it was pretty balanced for the 16, just because the lens is offset. So some people mention moving this sideways, which I guess you could do, and having to open up the opening. But what I found out that it's easier, and I had to adjust this a little bit anyway when I got it, is on the tube clamp here, there's 2 screws, and I found I just loosened one up. This is where you need the L shape down. So I just loosen them up. You don't want to loosen up too far because there is wires going, I assume, through that tube, and you don't want to get them pinched, but just so it's still snug. And what we can do is we need to shift that tube towards the camera. So to do that, I just kind of wiggle it up and down a little bit, and So now it's somewhat balanced, but you'll notice how it kind of pendulums, kind of almost a reverse pendulum, and teeters back and forth. Well, that means that this angle fell down and now it's rocking. So what I need to do is just rotate that up, and so just rotate it up until that rocking goes away, and it'll end up being like trying to balance a basketball on your finger. It'll just roll over if you get it too high. So roll it back down a little bit. Still teeters. Rotate it up. You just want to do it so it just stops. So that's not too bad. Now the trick is when I tighten these down, it'll actually pull that clamp around and rotate this back down a little bit. So it's kind of a guess. I'm going to go up just a hair, so when that pulls it down, it'll kind of rotate it back around. So now we just want to check again that it doesn't teeter or pendulum. It's got a little pendulum effect, or that left side's a little heavy. That's not bad. So I just keep working with it. I won't spend too much time on it now, but if you see, it wants to roll a little bit. So I'll just loosen it up, shift it over again. And also, since this is balanced, you should be able to put that camera wherever position you want in the tilt, and it shouldn't make a difference. Just to verify. Alright, so now the next one is to balance the pan axis, which you don't think you really need to do that, but you do. And it's not too bad either. To do this, you got to lay it on the side of your helicopter. I'm going to lay the helicopter on its side. It's like a S800. I don't know how you do it. You probably have to hang it by something. So we can do this without hurting something. So you just want that mounting plate to be as vertical as possible. Now what we're going to work on, I can get it in the view there. Is there we go. Is this right here? You'll see there's just a screw on each side, and then right now there's 3 screws underneath. There actually was 4. I didn't put this one back to normal after I changed back, but typically there should be 4 screws in there for the 16mm. And so what you want to do, it's kind of the same thing as the last axis. You want this to not pendulum. Like that, I've got a little pendulum effect in it. So, let me get that out of the view. You just want to loosen all those. And these are the 2.5mm head. I'll just kind of show what it looks like if it's out of balance. Loosen these 5 screws up. And they did a really good job engineering this to where you have to kind of jump the screws from one slot to the other, but there's a lot of adjustment. And get the last 5th one here. So, not sure if you can see that. So this slides there we go. So you can see how that slides back and forth. So if I go all the way this way, You see that just pendulum really bad. Now, if I go the other way, you just, like the other axis, you want to balance it so it doesn't pendulum. Or teeter, I guess I'd call it. So you want to take that, hold it in any position. And it should just stay there. Sideways. The other side. So I've got a little bit. So I'm a little bottom heavy there. This is a little heavy, so I'll just move it back up. Until it doesn't, so it doesn't fall. And you might have to just move the screws over in a spot or two. So there it's too heavy on that side. So you can be bored and watch me do this for 20 minutes. And this one just reduces the amount of load on the motors. It's not going to make it creep left or right in your panning, but so I'm just a little heavy there. So I'm pulling a little bit there. So that's the only point that I feel that it's moving. So yeah, it's kind of a tedious process, but you can do it. Yeah, it's not perfect, but for the sake of the video, I'll color good there, and then just want to tighten those back up. Like I said, there was actually 4 of them on the bottom here with the 16mm lens, and I wasn't able to put one of them back in, so I got 5 out of the 6 in there. Well, I have to come back and readjust that a little bit, but I had it better than that. It's usually how it goes, though. So should be pretty close to being balanced. Just for fun, I will fire it up. That's the other thing, it's very close right there, but I checked it several times before I powered it up. But anyway, So there we go. Here's the 24 Zeiss on the Zenmuse.